John Murdoch regains consciousness in a hotel bathtub with no memory of how he arrived there. He struggles out of the tub and stumbles into the hotel room, disoriented and confused. The telephone rings and John answers to hear Dr. Daniel Schreiber on the line. Dr. Daniel urgently warns John that he must leave the hotel immediately because a group of men known as the Strangers is coming for him. During the phone call, John discovers something horrifying in the room. The corpse of a woman lies brutally murdered, her body showing signs of ritualistic violence. A bloody knife rests nearby. John flees the hotel room just as a group of pale men wearing trench coats arrives at the door. These are the Strangers. Meanwhile, Emma Murdoch, the wife of John Murdoch, performs in a show when she receives a card from Dr. Daniel, requesting that she come see him. Emma visits Dr. Daniel at his office, where he introduces himself as John's doctor. Dr. Daniel informs Emma that John has been coming to see him because John struggles with feelings of betrayal stemming from difficulties in their marriage. Emma explains that the last time she saw John was 3 weeks ago when he packed his suitcase and left in anger. Dr. Daniel delivers troubling news. He tells Emma that John appears to have suffered a psychotic break accompanied by complete memory loss, and John may now be delusional and even violent. Dr. Daniel warns Emma that he suspects John will try to contact her, and if John does, Emma must call Dr. Daniel immediately. Police Inspector Frank Bumstead investigates the murdered woman in the hotel room. He identifies John Murdoch as the primary suspect for a series of prostitute murders throughout the city. John stays constantly on the move through the city, which exists in perpetual night. At the stroke of midnight, John witnesses something impossible. Every person in the city suddenly falls into a comatose state. The Strangers pursue John through the darkened streets. When the Strangers corner him during a chase, John discovers he possesses psychokinetic powers similar to the Strangers themselves. John instinctively uses an ability the Strangers call tuning to alter reality around him. He creates an escape path through the environment and uses it to flee from his pursuers. John eventually examines his wallet and learns his real name. He also finds out he has a wife named Emma. Using a key he discovers in his pocket, John locates his home address and makes his way there to find his wife. Emma goes to the police station to file a missing person report for John. Inspector Frank informs her that her husband John is wanted as a suspect in a series of murders, and the police are actively searching for him. Inspector Frank offers to drive Emma back to her home. Emma arrives at her house and finds John waiting there. John tells her he remembers nothing. Emma tries to explain their marital difficulties, her meeting with Dr. Daniel, and the fact that John is now wanted by the police for murder. John notices Inspector Frank's car still parked outside the house and attempts to run. Inspector Frank confronts John at gunpoint. Emma helps John escape by distracting Inspector Frank, allowing John to flee. However, John drops Dr. Daniel's card while running away, and Inspector Frank retrieves it from the ground. Inspector Frank interviews Dr. Daniel about John, but receives no useful information from him. Later that night, a member of the Strangers approaches Dr. Daniel at a pool. The stranger confronts Dr. Daniel about a failed procedure on John. When the Strangers attempted to replace John's memories, something went wrong, leaving John with only fragments of his memories instead of a complete replacement. Dr. Daniel failed to report this failure back to the Strangers. John wanders through the streets of the perpetually dark city. No one else seems to notice that daytime never arrives. When the clock strikes 12, John witnesses everyone else fall unconscious. The Strangers then use their tuning ability to physically rearrange the city's architecture, reshaping buildings and streets. Afterward, the Strangers, assisted by Dr. Daniel, change the unconscious inhabitants' memories using injections that contain the new memories. This process is called imprinting. After the entire process completes, John, who has been following Dr. Daniel, confronts him and demands answers. John wants to know what is happening, why everyone falls asleep at midnight, and why he cannot remember anything. In his anger, John unintentionally uses his power and sends Dr. Daniel flying through the air. John runs away when he notices the Strangers approaching. John discovers information about a coastal town called Shell Beach. Everyone in the city knows about Shell Beach, though strangely, no one can remember how to get there. John attempts to visit Shell Beach, but his attempts fail. The Strangers grow disturbed by the presence of a human who possesses their tuning powers. They have been pursuing John but remain unable to locate him. The Strangers decide on a new strategy. They inject a copy of the memories they gave to John into one of their own men, Mr. Hand. They hope this will help them predict John's movements and track him down. From an old postcard he received from his uncle Carl, John learns more details about Shell Beach. The postcard provides information about the coastal town. Using the information on the postcard, John locates his uncle Carl and visits him. At his uncle's place, John tries to get answers and information about his hometown of Shell Beach. His uncle remembers the town but does not know how to get there. Uncle Carl secretly calls Emma and tells her that John is at his place and that she needs to come get him. John sees his uncle making the phone call and decides to leave. On his way out, John encounters the strangers, who have tracked him to his uncle's location. John tries to outrun them. Emma arrives in a car with Inspector Frank, who has been following her. They help John escape from the strangers. However, Inspector Frank arrests John and takes him to the police station for an interview. During the interview, John points out the unusual things happening in the city that no one else seems to notice. He mentions that everyone knows about Shell Beach but cannot find the way there. He points out the perpetual nighttime with no daylight ever appearing. He explains that everyone has lost their previous memories. Inspector Frank does not believe John's claims and puts him in jail at the police station. However, Inspector Frank cannot find satisfactory answers to any of these observations, which leaves him confused and curious. That night, the strangers track John to the police station. Before they reach John's jail cell, Inspector Frank, who now acknowledges that John is most likely innocent and harbors his own doubts about the city's true nature, frees John from the cell. John and Inspector Frank find Dr. Daniel and confront him. Dr. Daniel explains the true nature of the strangers. He reveals that the strangers are endangered alien parasites who share a collective consciousness. The aliens are conducting experiments on humans to analyze individuality, hoping to make a discovery that will help their dying race survive. Dr. Daniel reveals that John is an anomaly. John inadvertently woke up with the ability to tune during the midnight process before Dr. Daniel could implant John's latest identity as a murderer. John, Inspector Frank, and Dr. Daniel embark on a journey to find Shell Beach. However, instead of reaching an actual town, they discover only a large poster depicting Shell Beach mounted on a wall at the edge of the city. Frustrated, John and Inspector Frank break through the wall. The wall opens to reveal outer space beyond it. Some of the strangers, including Mr. Hand, arrive at that moment with Emma as their hostage. A fight breaks out. During the struggle, Inspector Frank and one of the strangers fall through the hole in the wall and drift out into space. The city is revealed to be a massive deep space habitat surrounded by a force field floating in the void. The strangers transport John to their home located beneath the city. They force Dr. Daniel to imprint John with their collective memory. The strangers believe John represents the culmination of all their experiments on humanity. However, Dr. Daniel disobeys their orders. Instead of imprinting the strangers' collective memory, Dr. Daniel injects John with specialized memories that train his tuning abilities. These memories contain decades of training about the strangers, their machines, and the art of tuning. John awakens with his powers fully developed and realized. He frees himself from the strangers' control and engages them in battle. John defeats their leader, Mr. Book, in an intense psychokinetic fight that takes place high above the city. John learns from Dr. Daniel that Emma has been re-imprinted with completely different memories. Dr. Daniel tells John that Emma cannot be restored to who she was. John decides to use his newfound powers. Amplified by the strangers' machines, John begins reshaping the entire city. He rotates the habitat toward the star it had been turned away from, bringing sunlight to the city for the first time. He floods the areas surrounding the city with water and forms mountains and beaches. John creates the actual Shell Beach within the deep space habitat, bringing the mythical place into reality. On his way to Shell Beach, John encounters Mr. Hand. John informs Mr. Hand that the strangers have been searching in the wrong place to understand humanity. John tells him they should not have been looking in the head. John opens the door leading out of the city and steps into sunlight for the first time in his recovered memory. On the pier in front of him stands the woman he knew as Emma. She now possesses new memories in a new identity as Anna, with no recollection of John or their shared past. John reintroduces himself to her. Together, they walk toward Shell Beach, beginning their relationship anew. Subscribe to watch more videos like this. Turn on notifications and leave a like to help the channel out. Thank you for watching.